Hello friends, I am Dr. Deepak Garg. I am an orthopedic surgeon and today we will discuss about shoulder impingement syndrome. So this is also known as subacromial impingement or painful arc syndrome. So let's just first understand the anatomy. So we should know about the coracoacromial arch. So the coracoacromial arch is made up of the anterior part of the acromion, coracoacromial ligament and coracoid process. And we should know the structures which pass beneath the coracoacromial arch, and these are rotator cuff tendons, subacromial bursa, biceps tendon and proximal humerus, head of the proximal humerus. So these are the structures which passes beneath the coracoacromial arch. So if there is a decrease in this space, this may lead to the impingement. It can be because of the acromion, it can be because of the coracoacromial ligament, it can be because of the coracoid, it can be because of the structures, it can be because of the bursa tendons or biceps tendon, or it can be because of the proximal humerus also. Let's understand the details of the impingement syndrome. So this is a classification to understand. This is a developmental stage of impingement syndrome. So there are three types according to the developmental stage: stage 1, 2 and 3. So the stage 1 is seen between age group less than 25 years, stage 2 is between 25 to 40 year age of group, and the stage 3 is more than 40 years of age group. The stage 1 is the pathology in stage 1 is there is just edema and hemorrhage, which is a reversible stage and the treatment is conservative. Stage 2 is usually seen between 25 to 40 years of the age group, and the pathology is there is a fibrosis and tendinitis, and the patient will usually present with recurrent pain with activity, and treatment is usually conservative. But if the conservative treatment will fail, we will have to go for surgery and we will go for bursectomy with or without division of coracoacromial ligament. Now stage 3 is seen in age group more than 40 years, and there are usually present bony spurs and tendon ruptures which are seen in the MRI. So patient will present with progressive disability. There will be a restriction of movement and day-to-day function will be hampered, and in this stage we will usually have to go for surgery and we will do anterior acromioplasty, and or if there are a rotator cuff tear, then we have to repair the rotator cuff tendons. So Neer originally described the impingement syndrome. It divided the impingement syndrome into 4 subtypes, and these are the 4 subtypes: primary impingement, secondary impingement, subcoracoid impingement and internal impingement. The primary impingement was further divided into intrinsic and extrinsic impingement. If we want to understand what is intrinsic primary impingement, then the structures passing beneath coracoacromial arch, they become enlarged. So the structures which passes is the main structure is a bursa, then there can be rotator cuff tendons. So the structures become enlarged. So when the structures become enlarged, automatically the space will be reduced and it will lead to the impingement and the pain. So this is a primary intrinsic impingement. If we talk about what is extrinsic primary impingement, so in the extrinsic, the space will decrease. The structures are normal but the space will decrease. So this will be because of the problem in the anatomy. For example, the shape of the acromion, or there is a subacromial spur. It can be because of some osteophyte, or it can be because of some exostosis. So these are the extrinsic reason for the primary impingement. Then what is secondary? Secondary is due to the glenohumeral joint instability. Subcoracoid impingement is when it is present, subcoracoid impingement, there will be tenderness over the coracoid. Impingement test will be positive, and when we will give the lidocaine injection, patient will have a relief in the pain, and this can be due to the prominent coracoid. Now what is internal impingement? Internal impingement is internal contact of cuff with posterior-superior aspect of the glenoid in abduction, extension and external rotation. For example, this may be seen in capsular laxity, which is an arthroscopic finding. So let's now discuss about all these things in detail. So when the patient is having impingement syndrome, he will usually have a painful arc. So when we will abduct from 45 to 160 degree, patient will feel pain. So what is the etiology of impingement? So majorly the etiology is unknown, but as we have already seen, that it can be because of the enlargement of the structures beneath the coracoacromial arch, or it can be because of the problem in the acromion itself. So there it can be because of the acromion morphology, and for that we measure the lateral acromion angle also, and rotator cuff degeneration also can cause to the impingement syndrome. So let's look at the morphology of the acromion. So Morrison and Bigliani, they classified the acromion on the basis of their shape in 1986. The type 1 is a flat type of the acromion, type 2 is a curved type of the acromion seen in 43% of the people, and type 3 is a hooked type of the acromion seen in 40% of the population. And in type 1 we will usually go for conservative treatment. In type 2 we may need acromioplasty sometimes, and in type 3 we will may have to go for acromioplasty if the conservative treatment fails. Again, so what is a lateral acromial angle? So it is a vertical line lateral and perpendicular to the glenoid, and a horizontal line parallel to the acromial undersurface. So the angle made between these two lines is a lateral acromial angle. So we can imagine if this angle will decrease, so there will be a curving of the acromion. Acromion will curve towards the humeral head, the space will decrease. So this angle should be a larger angle will be better. So smaller the angle, more the chances of getting an impingement. So we can measure this angle in an X-ray or an MRI. So the average of the average angle in the general population is 78 degree, but if this angle is less than 70 degree, so it is usually associated with impingement, and it indicates that the patient may need surgery. Now, how the degeneration of degenerative changes will cause to lead to the impingement? So the degeneration will lead to the tendon senescence. It may lead to dystrophic calcification, or it may also lead to the fascicular thinning. So ultimately the muscles will be weak, and there will be the loss of force couple. So when the muscles of the proximal humerus attached to the proximal humerus are weak, so this may lead to the proximal migration of the humeral head, and when the proximal migration of the humeral head occurs, there will be a decrease in the space beneath the coracoacromial arch, and this may lead to the impingement. So this was about the etiology of the impingement. Now let's discuss about the treatment. So we are discussing about the treatment of the primary impingement, either it is the cause is extrinsic or it is intrinsic. So there can be a conservative treatment or a operative. So for the conservative treatment, we will usually give anti-inflammatory drugs. We can give subacromial cortisone injection, and we will usually start the physiotherapy, range of motion and strengthening exercises. And if the conservative treatment fails after 3 to 4 months, then we will usually go for surgery, and the surgery in impingement syndrome is acromioplasty with release of coracoacromial ligament. So this was about the video, today's video. Thank you guys, thank you very much.